Imagine creating one of the best internet series ever, and within a few days, it turns into the worst mistake of your life. Well, my friends, that's exactly what happened with the Amazing Digital Circus. What started as just another series ended up becoming a worldwide phenomenon, but also one of the worst experiences for its creator. So get ready, because today we're gonna see how the Amazing Digital Circus ended up destroying its creator, Gooseworx. It all started in October 2023, when Glitch Productions released the pilot episode of the Amazing Digital Circus on YouTube. What they didn't know was that it'll blow up insanely fast. No one was really prepared for that level of success. Just imagine, 100 million views in a single month, breaking records, even surpassing already massive series like Has-Been Hotel. Just like that, out of nowhere, Gooseworx went from being an animator almost nobody knew, working on smaller projects like Little Runmo, to literally becoming a global phenomenon. As of now, the episodes have racked up over 1 billion views, it's on Netflix, and the finale is even heading to theaters. It basically sounds like a dream come true, right? Well, not for Gooseworx. Ever since that pilot dropped, everything in the creator's life turned into chaos. It didn't even take a week before people started attacking the fandom. A group called UTTP began invading wikis, deleting pages, harassing people, and not just that, they started leaking personal information. They pulled data from the voice actors and from Gooseworx herself, addresses, phone numbers, passwords, everything. And while moderators were trying to fix the mess, these guys just kept destroying it all over again. Basically, the show hadn't even released its second episode yet, and the creator was already being doxxed. That's how fast things spiraled out of control. And it didn't stop there, because the very next month, things got even worse. On Twitter, people started digging through Gooseworx's old posts, looking for anything they could use to throw hate. The classic situation. Someone gets famous and suddenly everyone wants to cancel them over old stuff. Her accounts were getting attacked, and YouTube was already flooded with videos explaining the Gooseworx situation, altering information even more, when there was literally only one episode out. The project had barely started, and it was already drowning in chaos. And honestly, that's when you realize something. There are people who just live to tear others down the moment they see them succeed. It's straight up envy showing itself. Then, as the Amazing Digital Circus kept growing, it became the perfect target. Not just for hate, thousands of low-effort videos started popping up. And the classic fan arts. Yeah, the kind where people were already getting weird with Pomni and Ragatha. Gooseworx herself had to step in and ask people to make actual quality content, because the show was getting flooded with pure garbage. And on top of that, there were constant fake leaks, which obviously got so bad that she had to come out and say it directly. Nothing real has been leaked. But it was clear that wasn't gonna be enough. So yeah, if you ever see stuff like that, Gooseworx herself already said it's all fake. She's the only one posting official information. And if that was bad enough, it wasn't just her going through it. Lizzie Freeman, the voice of Pomni, also had uncomfortable moments with fans. Actors were constantly getting bombarded with questions about the show everywhere, even in places where it had nothing to do with it. And Gooseworx even had to say it straight. If she shares fan arts, don't ask about the show in the comments, because she's not gonna answer. And honestly, it makes sense. People weren't even appreciating the art anymore. They'd just jump in asking, when's the next episode? Or, what's gonna happen to this character? Not even a simple compliment, nothing to actually show support. But let me tell you something. All the harassment, the weird fan art, and the non-stop hate, that wasn't even the worst part. Because then, things got even more toxic, and honestly, just absurd. On Tumblr, someone asked asked Gooseworx if Ragatha would ever kiss a person, and she jokingly replied that Ragatha would only kiss one of her friends. It was clearly a joke, but some people took it in the worst way possible and started sending threats to that friend. Like, from a completely harmless comment, they jumped straight into harassing someone who had nothing to do with it. Seriously, what kind of people even do that? Gooseworx had to step in and shut it down, basically saying that if your reaction to a joke is to threaten someone and not understand basic context, then you've got a serious problem. And let's be real, she is right. There are people who genuinely shouldn't be part of these fandoms. And this wasn't just a one-time thing. It's exactly the kind of behavior that's been slowly ruining everything around the series. Because with the Amazing Digital Circus, the fandom didn't become a support system. It became toxic. By episode 2, people were already fighting each other over characters. That Ragatha deserved more screen time, that Jack should appear more, that Gangle was being ignored, that Kinger needed his own episode, and every time something new dropped, instead of enjoying it, they went straight to complaining to Gooseworx if it wasn't exactly what they wanted. No matter what she does, someone always gets mad. If she focuses on Pomni and Jax, Ragatha fans complain. If she gives attention to Ragatha, Jax fans say the show is ruined. When Ragatha acted a little rude once, people immediately called her the worst character. But then Jax gets more depth. You see a more broken side of him. And suddenly, people don't like that either, because he's no longer the cool bully. It's like nothing is ever enough. And the craziest part is that Gooseworx has to read all of that while she's still writing the story. She's literally working knowing that no matter what she does, people are gonna say it's wrong. Then, when Netflix got involved, another wave of drama hit. A lot of people started panicking, thinking the show was gonna get ruined. Gooseworx had to come out and clarify that Netflix has no creative control, and that if they ever try to interfere too much, they'd just walk away from the deal. So no, they didn't sell out the project. It was the opposite. They set the conditions. And as the story kept moving forward, another issue exploded. Ragatha. From the beginning, she was set up as a really important character, almost on the same level as Jax. But as the episodes went on, she never got the development people expected. She didn't get the same deep focus that Pomni and Jax did. So, by episode 7, a lot of fans felt like they were promised something that never paid off. And when Gooseworx said on a livestream that Pomni and Jax are the main protagonists and that the ending would focus on them, yeah, chaos again. On Reddit, people started saying the story was terrible, that the character was wasted, that it didn't deliver on what it set up. And let's be real, some criticism was fair, but a lot of it turned into straight up personal attacks. Gooseworx responded sarcastically to one of those comments, and eventually just decided to delete her account to get away from the toxicity. But of course, people twisted that too. Some said she got driven off by harassment. Others said she just couldn't handle criticism. And even though she later clarified that she simply didn't want to deal with that environment anymore, by that point, everyone had already made up their own version of the story. And just when it seemed like everything had finally calmed down, the usual Gooseworx situation videos came back again. At one point, she even said she had considered never touching the franchise again, but despite everything she went through, she still came back to keep working on episode 9. After all of that, she chose to give the series a proper conclusion. Then, on April 10th, Glitch Productions announced that episode 9 would premiere in theaters in June, before releasing on YouTube on the 19th. And for some people, that sounded amazing. Not many shows that start on YouTube make it to theaters. The Amazing Digital Circus literally became the first independent show to do it. But their reaction was half excitement and half outrage. Because yeah, a lot of people were upset. The show had always been free on YouTube, and now the finale would be available earlier in theaters. That meant anyone who couldn't go would have to dodge spoilers. And realistically, that is most people. The initial release only included the United States, Canada, Latin America, and Japan, meaning a huge part of the world was left out. And when they said international fans could try contacting their local theaters, a lot of people took that as, figure it out yourself, guys, it's not our problem. The CEO later explained that the 2-week gap was part of the deal. If they hadn't agreed to it, the theatrical release would have been a full month ahead of YouTube. So they tried to keep the gap as short as possible. But the problem was already there. 2 full weeks of spoilers in a series built around theories and surprises. And even with all of that on her shoulders, Gooseworx is still 100% committed to the series. She writes, directs, does voice work, even composes music. She's still answering things on Tumblr, still interacting with fans after everything that's happened. And she's been at this for 3 straight years, pushing through all that chaos while continuing to build the story. The finale drops on June 19th, and after that, she'll finally be able to close this chapter of her life. Well, assuming people actually leave her alone. She'll probably need to step away from social media for a while. But anyway, guys, what do you think about this whole story? Have you ever been part of a toxic fandom? Let me know down in the comments.